Yeah, I could talk about one of them. Could talk about Matt Strom, who we just signed to a one-year deal. The other one that's been reported, we're hopeful to be able to announce soon. We're not quite there yet, so I can't comment on it yet. But can talk about Strom. We were excited to get him. This is a guy when you look at what he's done when he's been healthy. He has a repertoire that can get out both righties and lefties, which is certainly important, especially in today's game. And he also has experience going more than one inning, which really expands what you can do. In fact, he has starting experience. We don't intend to use him in that role, but the ability to be more than just a short reliever and to get out hitters of both sides is really appealing to us. He's missed some time with knee injuries the past couple years. When he's healthy, he's been really, really effective. We were able to get into his medical file. We were able to see him throw, really like where he's at right now. And I think there's a lot of upside to bringing him in and having him here.
People in New England are probably scratching their head again this morning, considering other players who would sign last night. Do you figure you're being left behind? You feel there's still time for you guys to sign somebody?
Yeah, no, I don't look at it that way at all. Look, I think probably the best way, and I'm actually glad you asked that because I want to be able to, especially take our fans kind of behind the curtain. I think when you start looking at it that way, that's when you get in trouble. The important thing is to focus on what you're doing, not to focus on what everybody else is doing, and not to focus on what kind of splash you might be able to make. You go back to last offseason. I think, and we knew at the time, a lot of the things we did were not things that were exciting people at the time that we did them. We were happy with them. We liked them in terms of all the options that we had. There were definitely ways that we could have invested equally in the team that would have generated a lot more headlines or created more of that feeling like we were keeping pace in a derby. But at the end of the day, they would not have made us better. And I actually think we were better for what we did than a lot of the other things we could have done that might have created that impression. And that doesn't mean we're going to get them all right. That doesn't mean that's going to happen every year with every move. But the reason I say that is because I think it's really important for us not to get distracted by those things, to focus on what are the opportunities that make sense for us, not to start chasing things. If you chase things, you can turn good opportunities into bad opportunities and put yourself in a position not to be able to take the next good opportunity. So we're kind of looking at it that way, trying to stay focused on chasing down the things that make sense for us. Some of them are things people might expect. Some of them are things they might not expect. And I don't know in terms of timing or in terms of when or what will happen just yet. But I think the important thing is not to get too distracted by all that stuff.
Any big signings, you have to still go through Henry and the bosses, right?
Well, they're involved in everything that we do. Obviously, it's their organization. So, yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. I just ran a few miles outside and I haven't stopped sweating yet. I apologize.
It sounds like Kyle Schwarber's one of the Phillies.
I did see that this morning, yeah.
You just talk about the impact he made here and how much, and whether you were kind of engaged in trying to bring him back or how the process played out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's official yet, but if as you know, I told you guys about this right at the beginning of the winter. I don't need to tell you guys what he did here, what he meant here, how he fit here. We stayed in touch with him the whole way. Just ultimately, like I said, you want to make sure it actually aligns in terms of term, in terms of price, with other things that you might be able to do, not just now, but over the course of that whole, the whole time you might have him. And ultimately, just thought it was to a level that didn't make sense. As much as we love him, and we do. I mean, he is, in such a short time, he became an incredible part of this team, very beloved in the region, and he's a great fit for Philly.
And Suzuki's also off the board. I know you don't like getting into specific guys, but was that a guy that you were also in touch with all the way?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think generally the answer on these is, with any of these guys, is going to be, yes, we're trying to be in touch with everybody. It's a question of, like I said, you assess the player, the fit, the terms, and you know, is the guy the right fit, you know, on the right terms? And, you know, obviously time will tell how it all plays out, and that's, you know, that's our job, is to be right a lot more often than we're wrong. But, you know, like I said, the last time I talked to you guys, really, really talented player, and, you know, I'm sure he'll do well there.
I read somewhere that someone suggested that you might be interested.
Sorry, should have waited.
Freeman? Is that
What's that?
realistic?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about specific guys, but like I said, I think it's fair to assume that if there is talent out there, that we're gonna have interest in that talent.
I guess like first base doesn't seem like a natural fit because of Kristen coming up. Is that too close-minded in the way of thinking of?
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to get into specific players who are available out there, but you know, suffice it to say, those are things we have to consider.
Do you have any sense of, as this truncated offseason moves along, that the guys at the top of the market might be willing to accept shorter-term deals to go back in next year when they have the league?
We'll see. That's one of the things we got to think about.
Is that something that would appeal to you, a shorter-term, like say that 1 year, easy to build trade kind of deal?
Totally depends on the context. You know, we're also in this to build for the long haul, and for the right player, we'd want them here for a longer period of time as well. One other thing I do want to tell you guys, which is part of the reason I came out here, is news about Chris Sale. You guys are going to get to talk to him soon. Chris has a stress fracture in his right rib cage, so he is not throwing right now, and he's not going to be ready for the start of the season because of that.
What sort of timetable are you looking at?
Don't have a timetable right now. You know, this happened actually. Probably a lot of you guys saw the live BP that he was streaming on Instagram. That's you know, from what obviously we were not in touch with him at that time. From, you know, talking to him, that's when this happened. That's actually the last time that he threw, and we found out about it when we were able to get back in touch with him. And you know, he's not throwing basically at this point. So we're talking weeks, not days, before we can get a baseball back in his hand. Just, you know, obviously everything that he does is rotational, and that's what this causes problems with. He's doing a lot better now than when he first came in, but you know, we don't know. We just know he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. You know, if we're talking weeks before he can start throwing again, we need to build him up. As you saw, he was already pretty well along before we. You know, before this happened, so the build-up shouldn't be too long when we're able to get him back, but we don't know when that will be.
Was he already getting medical treatment at that point, or was it only diagnosed when he came here?
You know, he had looked into it prior to coming to us, but obviously once we got back in touch with him, we wanted to get our arms around it and really figure out what we were dealing with here.
In terms of what that does, you know, does that put you in a different position in terms of looking to add rotation depth?
You know, we're always, you know, we talked about it a couple days ago, you know, at which time we knew that we were dealing with something. We didn't have enough information to really want to talk about it yet. So it's always something that we're going to look for. Look, the nice thing about this is that this is really just a question of time. This is not something that, you know, everything else he was doing great. So we have to respect, it's a bone that needs to heal. We have to respect the time that takes, and you know, we're fortunate to be in a better position with respect to internal depth than we've been in the past. But you know, it's always something that, you know, we're looking to supplement. That's actually why we, you know, went out and got some of the guys we did before the lockout, because we wanted to have different options. We wanted to have more guys in spots, so to speak.
More likely that either Whitlock or Hout is prepared for the rotation rather than a bridge role in the bullpen because of this?
Yeah, I don't think we should change what we're doing with them, because we need them available for this whole marathon. We talked about it with both those guys. We want to get them stretched out as much as it's responsible to do during this time and go from there. So if we were to try to push them beyond that, the worst thing we can do is set somebody back. So I don't think it changes anything with them, but we were already optimistic that they'd be able to take on a lot of innings for us.
Normally, what type of rehab is that injury? How long?
You know, it totally depends. We're still trying to get a read on it. You know, we just have to see how it goes. He's doing much better now than a week ago, but we have to get him rotating, then we got to get him throwing, and then we got to build him up. So, like I said, we're talking weeks, not days, before he starts throwing.
That doesn't seem like a common injury. I mean, is this something that you've experienced with any other pitchers before?
I have, we're a rotational game, so, things really on both sides of the ball. So, things either with pitchers, you sometimes see it in the rib, you sometimes see it in the back in our game. It is what it is. Obviously, things could be a lot worse on the injury front there, but it's just something we gotta take time and wait out.
Just to be clear, he did it throwing a pitch?
Yeah.
Do you feel like if you were able to have, your arms around these guys instead of kind of doing it on their own, something like this could be prevented, or is it just a freak thing? Or
Good question. Yeah, and let me add on that question also, like, the truth is I think we may never know exactly where and how this started. He felt it acutely after that live BP. So do we? No. If he did, we don't know about it. To your question, yeah, obviously you'd have loved to have had him here. That's wasn't possible.
Chaim, in terms of roster building, like where do you feel you are in terms of ability to make trades? Just in terms of just how well positioned do you think you are to be able to trade from prospect?
It really depends on the deal. We talked about this the other day. I don't think, if you're saying are we at the point where we are so overflowing with prospect depth that we can just throw it around left and right without any regard to what that means, no, I don't think we're there. But at the same time, if a deal makes sense for us, if we like the value we're getting and what we're giving up, we're in a better position to be able to do that. But we are not, I talked about it the other day, the most important thing we can do if we want to be great every year is to have a pipeline of championship caliber talent that is always coming. That allows you to do anything that you want to do in this game. And it is really the key to sustaining success for any organization at any level of resources. So we need to be fully focused always on having that pipeline be elite. And I think we've seen over time the championship teams that the Red Sox have fielded have all in one way or another been fueled by a pipeline like that. This organization has been at its best when that pipeline has been really, really robust. So we're constantly focused on that. That doesn't mean that you can't make trades out of it wherever you are at. But we need to be, we can't sit here and say, okay, box checked, we fixed the farm system, now let's go and let's spend it all down again. I don't think that's a recipe for being as great as we want, as we need to be, and as our fans want us to be every year.
Is there a number, so we learned that Bogarts and Murillo got vaccinated in the offseason. Is there a number of guys that weren't vaccinated that are vaccinated now that you can tell us?
There certainly are some, as you guys heard.
Is there more than two?
There are, yeah. I don't want to get into specific numbers or names. I don't think that's right. I think it's a private thing unless players want to talk about it. But yes, there are more than two.
I'm curious about that perspective. I understand not getting into individual names, but from a competitive standpoint, given the dynamics, it's an issue.
Yeah.
And so, why not present the numbers?
I think what it really comes down to for me is just respecting people's privacy. Look, ultimately, the Toronto thing may give them no choice in terms of their privacy, but I do think we as an organization, with players as our employees, need to respect that. And if we start getting into numbers, we're just paving the way for effectively like a guessing game, where everybody's going to keep lists and try to figure it out. I have no problem. That's your job, but I don't think we should be fueling that. I just don't think it's fair to our guys.
How much of a competitive how important do you think that is in terms of putting a team up in Toronto to compete?
Yeah, look, you'd like to have all your players available at all times. There's no reasons for somebody to be kept off the field that isn't going to affect us in some way. So we want to have everybody available. Cool?
Thank you, Lars.
Good. This is the last time I talk to you guys 20 minutes after running around the complex for 3 miles.
Just our questions that were making.
Terrible optic, I know.
Johnny's question.
Pressure was on.